Welcome, everybody, to the Gladden Longevity Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jeffrey Gladden, and our goal here is to enable you to live young for a lifetime. We're incredibly passionate about that. We feel like staying youthful is really the perfect antidote to aging. And we ask 4 questions, can work to answer them all the time. The first is, how good can we be? The second is, how do we make 100 the new 30? The third is, how do we live well beyond 120? And the fourth question is, how do we live young for a lifetime? And I just finished a conversation on algae with Catherine Arnston. And I have to tell you, it was a really fascinating conversation. I've known about algae for a long time. I've used Spirulina and Chlorella for well over a decade. Catherine has dedicated her life, quite honestly, to understanding these algae and their benefits, health benefits. I was blown away by some additional information that she had to share with us, and I think you're going to love this conversation. There are so many health benefits to this. It's too numerous to try to recount here in the intro, but take a hard listen. And we went in deep on the H-Hackers Plus portion of the conversation as well. She had some real nice insights there too. So I think you'll love this conversation.
This episode of the Gladden Longevity Podcast is brought to you by the new Gladden Longevity Anti-Inflammatory Shroom Formula.
A little background, our anti-inflammatory formula is a potent blend of adaptogenic mushrooms specifically designed to support your body's natural defense mechanisms to reduce inflammation. This unique formula contains a powerful mix of medicinal mushrooms, including agaricus, reishi, cordyceps, and maitake, known for their immune boosting and anti-inflammatory properties. Together, they do a great job of turning down a major driver of inflammation.
I've been a big fan of adaptogenic mushrooms for a number of years now, and I was really excited to find you all were coming out with this. This is a superior product to what I've tested on the market.
Yeah, we love it, and our clients love it as well. Again, this is a tincture, so we will put it in tea, we'll put it in a smoothie, we'll put it in water and drink it. But to know that you're actually able to decrease NF-kappa beta, which is a major driver of inflammation in your body with this, it just goes along with everything else that we know about aging, that inflammation is a key driver of the aging process. So we love going straight at the heart of it with this formula.
Get 10% off your order of the new Gladden Longevity Anti-Inflammatory Shroom Formula when you use the code podcast10 at gladdenlongevitysshop.com. That's podcast10 at checkout when you visit gladdenlongevitysshop.com.
Experience the power of adaptogenic mushrooms with our anti-inflammatory formula and embrace a healthier, more balanced lifestyle. Welcome, everybody, to the Gladden Longevity Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jeffrey Gladden, and I'm here today with an interesting person, Catherine Arnston. She is basically a woman that's all about algae. We're going to learn more about that here in just a minute. So it's an interesting day here. It's simply because the weather's beautiful in Texas. It's April and it's 65 to 70 degrees outside. And I wish I was outside doing this podcast, but here we are. So it's all good.
Well, I'll try to sprinkle some sunshine into your day.
Oh, well, I love that. Beautiful. Okay, we'll do that. I'll try to do that for you too.
All right.
So Catherine, tell us a little bit about how you became enamored with algae. Not everybody at a 5-year-old has a desire to be an algae expert.
Queen.
Right?
I know.
Right?
My moniker is now the algae gal.
Okay.
Well, it is a very interesting story. I didn't choose algae. It chose me.
Okay.
I'm actually Canadian by birth. I've lived in Boston, Massachusetts for 30 years, but my family's all still in Canada. And that's really how this journey started, because I had a corporate career doing international economic development, nothing to do at all with nutrition. And then my younger sister in Canada, who I'm very close to, developed breast cancer almost 14 years ago. Well, 15 years ago. Now, I just want to assure you and your listeners that she completely healed. But as she was preparing for her chemotherapy, her oncologist, which is a cancer specialist, told her to change her diet to an alkaline diet because it would help with her healing. But the oncologist didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was and what specifically it did for her. So my baby sister called me because I'm a good researcher. I can find out anything. In fact, I'm working on my PhD now because I've done so much research on algae and cell biology. Yes. Anyways, I said I'd have no idea what this stuff is, but I will find out. And I did. And an alkaline diet turned out to be primarily a plant-based diet because of the chlorophyll and the phytonutrients that have been proven to build your immune system. Also, there was a German scientist back in the 30s and 40s by the name of Otto Warburg, who won the Nobel Prize for discovering that cancer cannot exist in an alkaline cell, and the scale is from 0 to 14. So I have to believe that my sister's oncologist, who happened to be a woman, and women tend to be a little bit more open to nutritional interventions, she must have known about Otto Warburg and the cell pH, and also this powerful healing attribute of chlorophyll and phytonutrients. So I researched plant-based foods for her. She did go through a chemo. She completely healed, and we celebrate her being cancer-free every year. But in the process, I dug into plant-based nutrition, and nobody was talking about plant-based diets 15 years ago like they are now. And as I kept digging, I thought, man, somebody needs to tell the world about the powerful healing attributes of plants and vegetables. So I gave up my 25-year corporate career. I went back to school. I got a health coaching certificate, nothing too deep in nutrition. And then I taught plant-based nutrition for a year at hospitals and corporations. And this is what truly led me to algae. Because as I was telling people the importance to eat vegetables, I got a lot of pushback. People said, they're too hard to carry home from the grocery store. They give me gas. I throw them out. My kids won't eat them. My husband's won't eat them. Nobody likes,
there's a lot of pushback on vegetables these days. Too many oxalates, too much fiber,
lectins, carnivores.
Too much. Right. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, right? I can't have garlic. I can't have onions. I can't eat broccoli. I can't, too much.
FODMAPs.
FODMAPs, exactly. Right?
I've been on Dr. Gundry's podcast 3 times. He loves us because, as you will find out, there are no lectins or oxalates in algae. Yeah. So anyways, as I got pushed back, I thought, okay, I've seen the nutritional value of vegetables. I also seen that people have a hard time eating them or buying them or cooking them. So I thought I need to find something that has the nutrition of vegetables without any of the lectins, oxalates, heavy lifting. And I just dug into everything I'd found for my sister. And that's when I got to algae in a deep way, because as I researched algae, it turns out, first of all, it's the most alkaline food in the world. So that box was checked. NASA says it's the most nutrient-dense food in the world and has 1,000 times more nutrition than any other fruit or vegetable. The United Nations has endorsed spirulina algae for 50 years. They had a global conference in 1974 and declared spirulina algae the answer to world hunger because it has the highest concentration of protein in the world, 3 times the amount as steak. It's been used safely for 60 years, 60 in Asia, where they take it every day, which has improved their health, their longevity. It's the most studied food. As you're going to find out, algae is not a supplement. It is a food crop. And it is, there's almost 60,000 studies on spirulina and 40,000 on chlorella, which are the 2 algae we're going to talk about today, proving that they help reduce inflammation, protect mitochondria, improve brain health, gut health, skin health, heart health. The list is endless. The only problem with algae, so it seemed to me, is that it wasn't well known, or the therapeutic benefits were unknown outside of Asia. Everybody knows about them in Asia, but nobody does here. And the quality was poor because most of it came from China. So that was 14 years ago, and I decided I would devote the rest of my life helping people understand the therapeutic benefits of algae, which you don't know about because it's just not grown here, and to provide a very clean, healthy source, which is what I've done. And so our algae is the only algae I'm aware of that is sold nationwide by doctors, homeopaths, functional medicine practitioners. We're sold obviously on our website as well. And I have gone to great lengths. I've spent 14 years. I've written about 500 papers educating people about what algae is, what it does, the therapeutic benefits. And that's why I'm now hopefully writing my exams this summer to help people understand that.
So this is great. So let's break this down a little bit. We're talking about 2 different algae. We're talking about spirulina and chlorella.
Correct.
And they're not identical.
They're quite different.
They're quite different. In combination, they can actually be quite incredible. And isolated, they can also be incredible. So do you want to walk us through a little bit of the differences between those?
Absolutely. First, let me give you a little bit of more of an overview of what algae is, because that's still a big thing that confuses people. It's its own food category. It's technically not a plant. It's certainly not an animal. And in fact, spirulina, as you're going to find out, is a bacteria. It's a cyanobacteria. So first of all, algae is a food category, and it was the first life on Earth 3.4 billion years ago. It's proven with fossils. And in fact, you're also going to find out your mitochondria evolved from cyanobacteria like spirulina. So that being the case, then within algae as a food category, there's two main subcategories, macroalgae and microalgae. We're going to be talking about microalgae today, but let me tell you what macroalgae is. It's that stringy stuff that you see washing up on shore, also known as seaweed or dulse or kelp. Now, it's good for you because it has lots of fiber, and it has iodine because it's only from the sea, which is why it's called seaweed. But there's virtually zero nutrition. So high fiber from the ocean, virtually no nutrition. Microalgae is completely the opposite, and that's what we're talking about today. First of all, it's everywhere. It's, yes, in the sea. It's also in the lakes.
Let me just interrupt you. So what you're saying is people shouldn't go out and skim the pond.
No. Well, particularly because algae will absorb whatever's in the water, which is one of the reasons why we're considered such high quality, because we grow ours in triple filtered spring mountain water. Do not take any algae product or from a lake, a river, a stream, nothing, because there will be toxins. There will be microtoxins. We test for them. We don't have them. But yes, you want to be really careful about where you get your microalgae from. So it's everywhere, including your aquarium or your swimming pool. We grow ours in triple filtered spring mountain water in Taiwan. So number one, it's everywhere. Number two, virtually no fiber, which is completely opposite to macroalgae, or no fiber. Spirulina is no fiber. It is a bacteria. It does not have a cellulose wall or nucleus. Chlorella, which we're going to talk about today, does belong to the plant kingdom, and it does have fiber in it. So virtually no fiber, but the most nutrient-dense food in the world. Something like 1 million microalgae could fit on the head of a pin. And so when you consolidate the nutrition that's found in microalgae into these, we have little tablets about the size of a baby aspirin.
When I first learned about when I first learned about spirulina and chlorella and how nutrient dense it was, I was stunned and amazed and pleasantly surprised, because I think one of the biggest challenges we have in eating is actually finding nutrient dense foods.
Yep.
We have very calorie-rich, nutrient-poor foods, all around us. But finding really high-quality, nutrient-dense foods, which is really what the body loves. It loves all that big, wide variety of nutrients coming in, is difficult to find.
Impossible, in fact.
It's impossible to find. Right? It's impossible to find. That's exactly right. And the interesting thing is, when I learned how nutrient-dense it was, I would tell people that, if we were stuck on an elevator for 30 days and all we had with us was spirulina and chlorella, we'd walk off of here just fine.
You could live on it forever, actually.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's Mother Nature's number 2 perfect food. The first perfect food is breast milk. And I did the analysis, and I can send it to you, that I found out that mother's breast milk and spirulina are virtually identical. Same aminos, same proportion, same amount of GLA. In fact, the GLA is actually technically omega-6, but because it's not heated, it behaves like an omega-3. And the only place that has more of it than spirulina is mother's breast milk. So spirulina.
And it's interesting. We measure for GLA in our clients, and a lot of them are low in GLA. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So when we see low GLA, right, it's this is an omega-6 that's actually helpful for you. It actually decreases cancer risk. It does some other things that are very, very helpful. So everybody's shying away from omega-6s, moving towards omega-3s. But you do need the right omega-6s, and GLA is one of them. So it's interesting that you can get probably all the GLA you need out of spirulina.
From spirulina, exactly. Yeah. And the omega-6s are detrimental when they are heated. That's why you want to stay away from the seed oils. We do not use heat to dry our algae. So both spirulina and chlorella are raw foods. So that's why it's not inflammatory. It's anti-inflammatory, the GLA in our spirulina. So it behaves just like an omega-3. Nice. But thank you for pointing that out, because most people are unfamiliar with the GLA. So back to spirulina or the microalgae, it's nutrient dense, virtually no fiber, found everywhere, and there are tens of thousands of strains of them. Macroalgae, the stringy stuff, there's only a handful: brown, red, green. But with microalgae, tens of thousands. The two that most people know about of microalgae are spirulina and chlorella. There are tens of thousands of other ones. So, for example, a lot of people, if they think of algae, they often just think of an algae bloom closing their favorite beach. And a lot of people will panic because the headline will be blue-green algae, toxic blue-green algae closing beach. And you'll think, oh my gosh, that's spirulina. I should stop taking it. That's not spirulina. That's just another bad boy blue-green algae, but not spirulina. Spirulina and chlorella are only harvested as in aquaculture, hydroponically in fresh water. We just happen to have the cleanest water, but whether you go to Target or Whole Foods or us to buy your spirulina, I can 99.99% sure it's grown in fresh water, not from the ocean. There's other types of blue-green algae in the ocean, but not spirulina. So the two algae we're going to talk about today are the spirulina, and the other algae is a green algae, which is called chlorella. And the reason why they're called they're designated as either blue, green, or green is because of the pigments that are found in it. Spirulina has two pigments, a blue one and a green one, which is why it's called a blue-green algae. Right. Chlorella only has one pigment, the green algae, and which most people are familiar with. It's chlorophyll. The pigment that you don't know about and does not exist anywhere else has amazing healing properties. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about them later on. And it's called phycocyanin. It's spelled Phycoyconin, phycocyanin, because I'm going to get into some deeper detail later, but that phycocyanin that's not found anywhere else in nature has been proven to kill cancer cells. I'd say that's pretty important, but only if it has not been heated. And that's the problem. Most other algae companies use high heat to dry their algae, which kills the phycocyanin. But
so there are other companies out there that make spirulina, chlorella, and spirulina chlorella tablets and things like that, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah. The difference is the quality. So I started this, as you heard my story, just to help my sister heal from breast cancer. And then I took a nutrition course and thought, well, I can help a few more people. So I dug in, and then I realized algae was the medium by which was the easiest, most effortless way, because I forgot to mention these little tablets that we produce, and this is how they make it in Asia as well. They're the size of a baby aspirin. And so one single tablet, because of the nutrient density of either spirulina or chlorella, has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. So if you don't like vegetables, or you're traveling, or your kids won't eat them, or you're tired of throwing them out before you eat them or cook them and they go bad after a few days, and by the way, our algae lasts 3 years, spirulina and chlorella tablets are the answer. I call them your nutritional insurance, because we recommend 10 tablets in the morning of spirulina and 10 tablets of chlorella at night. I'll explain why later on, but once you take that quantity, that's your sort of, if you're healthy and you just want to up your game, that will eliminate many of your other supplements, a multi, a fish oil, a CoQ10, a biotin, a collagen powder. It has more protein than steak, more collagen than collagen powder. Don't eat fish oil. It's rancid by the time you buy it. Where do you think the fish get the omega-3 from? They get it from algae. So spirulina is very, very nourishing algae, and most people do take it in the morning because that's when they're tired and hungry, and 10 tablets will satiate you for hours. And by the way, there's zero carbs, zero caffeine. It does give you energy mentally and physically. It does not interfere with your ketogenic diet. It's great for diabetics, pre-diabetics, low carb, low cal, zero lectins and oxalates. I mean, it plays with everybody, and you can have as much as you want. We fuel NHL teams, and they have 75 spirulina before a game.
The only thing I saw was that the chlorella is rich in vitamin A, and so we know that some people shouldn't get a ton of vitamin A, particularly if they have a predisposition to macular degeneration.
The vitamin A is in as in the form of beta carotene. So it's an organic vitamin A, which generally, if your body doesn't need that type of vitamin A, is why we recommend food over supplements. Then you won't absorb it. So it's the fact that it's beta carotene, which doesn't convert as easily as vitamin A is, I
Right.
think, a good thing.
Okay, that's good. Good
So
perspective.
it's good
Okay,
for
cool.
everybody. By the way,
Yep.
there's no contraindications. You can give this to your newborns, your children, your pets, your grandparents, and everybody in between. But spirulina is very energizing and nourishing, which is why we call our spirulina energy bits. And we put it in a blue packaging. I designed the packaging so that you knew that it was a blue-green algae. So whether you're intermittent fasting, it doesn't interfere with your fast, it doesn't break your fast, or you just want to get out the door quickly, grab a handful, swallow them down. You can chew them. I will admit most people don't like the flavor of spirulina. It's very chewy because of the high protein, but you can chew them, and I chew them. My tongue's usually green because I eat them all day long.
Right.
So throughout the day, when you have a lull at 2:00, it has when you're traveling, we have them in little pouches. You can throw them in your handbag, your gym bag, your travel bag, or before a workout. You will have I know, Dr. Gladden, you run every morning or you're doing some workout. I would love you to take 30, because 30 is a more therapeutic dose, or for athletes. We fuel NHL teams or marathon runners, triathletes, and they take 30 of the spirulina before a workout or a run, and it will power you through, not from any kind of stimulant, because there's no caffeine, chemicals, or sugar. It's because of the ATP that is produced at the cellular level, because we'll get to how that functions later on. Part of it, again, is this blue pigment that speeds up the.
I've done this on mountain
molecule.
bike rides where I haven't taken just spirulina by itself, but I've taken the spirulina chlorella by itself and probably taken, I'm going to say 20 or 25 tablets. Not your brand yet, although I'm anxious to try those.
Yeah.
But even there, you do notice sustained energy from it,
Yeah.
right? What I like about it, there's no bulk to it. It's not like you feel full or heavy or bloated. You're just getting sort of pure nutrition on, and so they can be great. I've used them.
One of the people I met at the Destiny Life conference where we met was a sheep hunter, and apparently, and he goes out to Afghanistan or New Zealand and with clients, and they're hiking and they've got all their equipment, and so they're looking for nourishment that they can carry with them that's lightweight. Same with hikers. This is the perfect solution. It's absolutely lightweight, and it's also eco-friendly and sustainable, but you'll get sustained power from it because of I tell people it's not a stimulant. A stimulant's like putting paper on a fire. This is like putting a log on the fire. Very quiet energy. There's no drama with algae. It just works in the background. So that's spirulina, energizing, nourishing, really great for mitochondria health. We'll get into that in a minute, I hope. And of course, since your brain has the most mitochondria in your body, there's 2 million per cell. It's also brain food. We know that fatty fish is brain food. Well, so is spirulina. Very much a brain food, mitochondria, energizing, nourishing algae. So that's quite different from the next algae, which is Chlorella, which is a green algae. Now, it does belong to the plant kingdom. Spirulina, as you may recall, is not. It is a bacteria. Now, in fact, Chlorella has the hardest cellulose wall in the plant kingdom. And the reason why that's important to know is a couple of things. First of all, that cellulose wall, for whatever reason, attaches to toxins, heavy metals, lead, mercury, radiation, aluminum, alcohol, lactic acid, and chelates them. So Chlorella is a chelator. It's a cleanser, but it's also a chelator. And spirulina is cleansing, not a chelator. So that's number one. That hard cell wall removes heavy metals and glyphosate and everything else that you don't want. Number two, it has the highest chlorophyll in the world. Spirulina has the highest protein in the world. Chlorella is called Chlorella because of the chlorophyll. So how much chlorophyll, you may say? Well, it has 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula and 25 times more than liquid chlorophyll. And I got these numbers off the Linus Pauling Institute.
So let's talk about chlorophyll, just so I'm not sure not everybody understands chlorophyll. This is basically a molecule that is responsible for converting sunlight into energy.
Yes.
So... yeah, it's found in plants.
And it's found in plants, but our soils are so damaged that there is no chlorophyll left in our vitamins. So everyone, quite honestly, unless you're taking, algae every day, you are chlorophyll deficit. Let me tell you a couple of cool things about chlorophyll. You can go online to check this out. Normally, I would show it to you in a visual. The chemical composition of chlorophyll is virtually identical to the chemical composition of your hemoglobin. That's your red blood cells. The only difference is your red blood cells have iron in the middle and chlorophyll has magnesium. The iron in your hemoglobin is what carries oxygen. So number one, chlorophyll builds your blood. For centuries, they've given liquid chlorophyll to the injured or when they had surgeries, up until even as recently as World War II. They would give the injured liquid chlorophyll if they had run out of blood for transfusions. And then, with the pharmaceutical industry coming into our society, that sort of...
He saved the day.
That sort of ended. So number one, chlorophyll builds your blood. Number two, you would never know this, but this is why I'm doing this. Chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. Why is that important? Because all of your cell walls have what's called a lipid membrane. That's the equivalent, that's a fancy word for saying fat. So anything like omega-3, D3, these are important fats that build your cell membrane so that they're porous and allow nutrients in and toxins out. Well, chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment, so it does the same thing. That's why when you do cleanses that involve juices that are green, this is one of the benefits, and it's because of the chlorophyll that is very cleansing to the cell wall. Chlorophyll also kills bacteria. Any carnivores who are listening, you are known for having bad breath, and it's because the meat gets stuck in your teeth and bacteria attack the meat. And so if you're at least taking spirulina or chlorella, you can help improve the bacteria and therefore your bad breath. It also kills bacteria in your colon. Only about 10% of chlorophyll actually gets absorbed in your stomach. The rest of it travels through your liver and your colon, and it's very, very cleansing. So that's very important for chlorophyll because it's very healing to the body at the cellular level and also for your blood. Also, chlorophyll is very alkalining. So remember, I started this journey because my sister's oncologist told her to have an alkaline diet. Well, chlorophyll is very alkaline. And chlorella, both algae, are the most alkaline foods in the world. A lot of it is because of this chlorophyll. So, and you might appreciate this, Dr. Gladden, because you pointed out that chlorophyll is a pigment that generates energy. There's been studies that show that when you take chlorophyll, like you would find in either spirulina or chlorella, and you then expose your body to red light, either sunlight or red light therapy, it generates ATP.
Interesting.
Generates ATP. And how does it do that? So I found out. What it does is it recycles the CoQ10 molecule that's one of these helper molecules in the electron transport chain. Mm-hmm. So it goes from ubiquinol to ubiquinone and then back to ubiquinol. And so it becomes inflammatory in that process. And then the combination of the chlorophyll and the light brings it back to being an alkaline state. So that's pretty cool. Very cool. So very, very healing because of the high nutrients, the high chlorophyll, this detox capability. Chlorella is a wellness algae. It helps you recover from your day, recover from your sports, recover from anything. So that, and most of your immune... Well, yes, because your body goes through a detox repair cycle while you're sleeping. Mm-hmm. So if you've been exposed to anything, whether it's in air pollution, alcohol, lactic acid, if you you can take the chlorella, we call ours recovery bits, any time of day, but please definitely take it before bed. It also has the highest tryptophan in the world, which is a precursor to melatonin, so it helps you sleep. It won't make you sleepy, but it will help you get into a deep sleep. It also has something called chlorella growth factor, which speeds up the growth of your own cells, and it helps stimulate stem cells. So all in all, chlorella is a gut wellness detoxing algae compared to spirulina, which is a nourishing, energizing, healing mitochondria brain algae. So you can see how the two of them function quite differently. We do have an algae called Vitality Bits where we blend the two of them together. I will point out, in case anyone's going to our website, which is energybits.com, they'll notice that there are two spirulina. The original one was blue, because that's the blue big green algae, but I found that women weren't buying it. And my girlfriend said, you got to make it pink and give it a cute name. And because spirulina has more collagen than collagen powder. So it helps with your hair and your nails and your skin. And I did the analysis. It has up to 400% of some aminos compared to collagen powder. And collagen powder is not a sustainable
not a particularly robust protein, quite honestly. And collagen is kind of an interesting story, right? It's actually a low quality protein. The interesting thing about it is that when you do consume collagen, you actually stimulate collagen growth, which is an interesting phenomenon of collagen. But yeah, so anyway, go ahead.
So there is a second brand of spirulina called Beauty Bits, and women and spa love that. And I just wanted women to feel as comfortable with the product. I can't help anyone if I can't get the algae into their body. So if anyone's wondering why there's two, that's why. So I tell people I have a boy spirulina and a girl spirulina, but they're identical. We're not trying to trick anybody. I'm just want people to be healthy. So you can see how, you take the spirulina in the morning and the afternoon before a workout, because that's when you're hungry. That's when you're tired. That's when you need energy. There's no burst. There's no crash. And Chlorella will not satisfy your hunger, will not give you energy, but it will help build your immune system, pull out toxins, pull out heavy metals, help you with your repair cycle when you're sleeping, and help you get into that repair cycle.
Yeah, beautiful. So I assume that this is something that you do on a daily basis. What's your routine with these? You said you were kind of nibbling through the day, but what's your actual routine here?
Well, first of all, I don't have to buy mine. So I like a lot of people, I have food sensitivities, and for a while this was almost the only thing I could eat other than eggs or grass-fed animal protein. So for the average person, first I'll tell you the average person, then I will admit what I take. The average person, if you took 10 spirulina tablets in the morning or throughout the day or whenever you need, and at least 10 chlorella tablets at night, you'll get the nourishment from the spirulina and you'll get the wellness benefits from the chlorella. For therapeutic amounts, whether you're at a biohacking center, you're getting a treatment, whether it's cryotherapy or red light therapy or sauna, we recommend the spirulina before the treatment and the chlorella after, but we recommend 30, and it's particularly if you have a health condition. Cancer, heart disease, dementia, because we need to get more nourishment into your body and more toxins out to bring you back into homeostasis. And that could take anywhere from 3 months to a year. But you'll probably feel so great that you never need to stop going back to the 10 a day. But for therapeutic dose, 30 of each is what you need. Now, I'm, the outlier here. I have been taking over 100 every day for the last 14 years. I love the chlorella. I eat mine. I eat my chlorella, particularly with pistachio nuts, also a very low lectin nut. I have them with sea salt, the spirulina and the chlorella, probably a combination of 75 in the morning, just with sea salt. And I might have a few more sort of noonish or 1 o'clock. Then I
Are they a source of iodine by any chance?
0 iodine, which is good news for some people, not good for others. Right. But iodine's only from the ocean. There is no iodine in ours because we grow it in fresh water. Zero iodine. So that's good for people who don't want iodine.
You're taking a dose in the morning. Then, sorry, I interrupted you. You're taking, what do you do?
Then I have more in the afternoon. And then I because I'm intermittent fasting like a lot of people, I really recommend it. And then I start adding some of the pistachio nuts sort of like around 4 o'clock. And if I'm on my schedule, then I have a real meal somewhere between 4 and 6 o'clock, eggs or grass-fed animal protein or vegetables. And I'm trying to do 1 meal a day. Sometimes I end up with 2. And then later on, if I'm still hungry before bed, then I have some more chlorella with some sea salt. And I try not to have the nuts because I don't want to, start getting into my fasting, interfering with my fasting window. So that's what I do.
Yeah, got it. Interesting.
But I know people aren't able to see me, but there are pictures of me on the website that were taken just a month ago, and I met you a couple of weeks ago, and you can see me. I'm turning 68 in a few months, so I'm not any spring chicken here, and my mind works, my skin is clear, my poop is great. I sleep well. And so I have the energy of a 20-year-old. I only have 20 and 30-year-olds working for me. They can't keep up with me. I'm on the road nonstop, and I still run a company, a multi-million-dollar company. And I just want to show people that it's possible to be healthy and well and energizing. We all age, but we do not need to decline. And I know that's your message as well.
Exactly.
but it's hard for people. They're thrown so many things, and they don't know which diet to follow. And ultimately, I tell people just listen to your own body, because everyone's unique. But the great thing about algae is that it fits in with every lifestyle, every age group, any time of day, any food. You can take it with food, instead of food, together, alone, with water, with whatever you want.
Is it kosher? I assume it's kosher.
Well, right? we have it kosher certified, absolutely.
Okay. Right.
And you can look us up at I don't have the name of the organization, KCA, I think it is. So
I would think it would be.
Well, you have to get it certified. It's not would be anybody else. I don't think anybody else is kosher certified, but
well, I mean, I would just think. I mean, I can't imagine there would be anything about algae that would make it non-kosher per se.
No, but you have to put kosher certified. You have to have the kosher certification organization, and sometimes when people are packaging this, it could be in a facility where non-kosher foods are packaged. So we're in a kosher facility, and we get kosher certified rabbi. We get rabbis to bless it. So I've done everything I can to make this clean and safe and pure and nutrient dense. And I do want to talk about a couple of the nutrients that are particularly important for longevity that are found only in spirulina, well, and a lesser degree in chlorella. But this, to me, is where the rubber hits the road for the longevity benefits beyond just having energy and nourishment. Can I
go ahead?
Can I dig in there?
Talk about your nutrients that you want to talk about.
Okay. Well, the big one I did highlight briefly, phycocyanin, which has been proven to kill cancer cells. So that's pretty important. The other one that I want people to know about is superoxide dismutase. I know it's a mouthful, also known as SOD. So what is this superoxide dismutase? Well, it's an antioxidant. And you've all heard of antioxidants. They will balance out a free radical, because a free radical is a molecule that has an unpaired electron, and so it steals an electron from another molecule, and that causes tissue damage and inflammation. So antioxidants have extra electrons that they donate, so they balance out these free radicals. The problem is the free radical production in the mitochondria. The mitochondria would generate cellular energy for you and your body. The cellular energy is called ATP. And the analogy I make for people to understand how important the mitochondria are is, think of your body like a building. In a building, you have offices, and the only work that can get done in the offices is because you have lights on. If you don't have any lights on, you can't do any work. Well, for your body, the cells are like the offices, and the things that keep your cells functioning are your mitochondria. So think of the mitochondria as the equivalent of lights in a building. Now, in a building, when the light bulbs go out, maintenance comes and replaces them. Problem solved. As you age, or as you eat a very acidic diet or highly processed diet, lots of processed carbs, they damage the mitochondria and cause more free radicals to be released, and that causes more mitochondria damage. And as you get older, as this damage occurs, and as they die, that's the equivalent of turning the lights off in your building. So, and as you get older, particularly after the age of 30, there's one particular antioxidant, this one called superoxide dismutase, that is one of the few antioxidants that can get into the inner membrane of your mitochondria to stop free radical damage. Remember I mentioned earlier how all your cells have a lipid membrane around them?
Yep.
Well, your mitochondria have a lipid membrane around them too, but they have this second inner membrane that doesn't exist anywhere else in your body except in the mitochondria. And 99% of antioxidants cannot penetrate that inner membrane. There have been studies done on vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin C, and they've all said these antioxidants don't stop longevity. They don't improve longevity. You know why? Because they can't get into the inner membrane of the mitochondria to stop free radical damage. The few that can are superoxide dismutase, glutathione, and chlorophyll. Superoxide dismutase is the one I want to concentrate on. And the reason why it's so important is because the most damaging free radical of all free radicals is something called superoxide. And it's created in this process of ATP production. Now, I was curious, what makes it so damaging? Turns out superoxide has 3 unpaired electrons. So it's 3 times as damaging. So this antioxidant called superoxide dismutase is what neutralizes that free radical and turns it into water. Mitochondria saved. Now, the good news is your body makes superoxide dismutase for you from the moment you're born until 30. After the age of 30, like a lot of things, hormones, melatonin, your body slows down the production. And by the time you're 40, you have no more superoxide dismutase being produced. That means this antioxidant that used to protect you from the rain of free radicals that are produced as a byproduct of ATP are now hitting your mitochondria, damaging them, killing them, mutating them. And this is what I believe leads to chronic disease and accelerated aging, because this free radical damage causes the mitochondria to expand. It causes the ATP electron transport chain to be inefficient. More electrons leak out, which become more free radicals, inflammation, ROS. It's just a downward spiral. Spirulina has the highest concentration of superoxide dismutase in the world. And because spirulina is a bacteria, so there's no cellulose wall for your body to have to break down to get access to it. It gets absorbed almost instantly if you chew it, within minutes if you swallow it. And so now the superoxide dismutase can go direct into the mitochondria. It's like having one of those big golf umbrellas. It protects you from the rain of free radicals. The free radicals are never going to stop. They're a natural byproduct of ATP. But your mitochondria, which have their own DNA, which are located exactly where the mitochondria, the free radicals and the ATP are produced, they no longer have the protection of the superoxide dismutase after the age of 30, and it can't be found in any other food. So, and when you take it as a supplement, they've done studies and say that it doesn't get absorbed because it gets damaged in the gut. So here we have, and there's 25,000 studies documenting the health benefits of superoxide dismutase. It reduces inflammation. It's been shown to stop heart disease, Alzheimer's. So the fact that spirulina has this superoxide dismutase, at least ours, in the highest quantity possible to protect you from heart disease, and has the blue phycocyanin that has been proven to kill cancer cells. Heart disease and cancer represent 75% of deaths in our Western world.
Sounds like it also would have an impact on dementia. Quite honestly, if you're talking about brain health and mitochondrial function, right? So now you've got 3 out of the top 4, right? So
right. Yeah. But the caveat is superoxide dismutase not only is an antioxidant, it is an enzyme. And anyone who knows anything about nutrition knows that enzymes are damaged or deactivated at the temperature of 114 Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. Virtually all the other algae companies that are less expensive, lower quality, use high heat to dry their algae because they need to get to market quickly to sell more products. So when I started the company, I wasn't even aware of superoxide dismutase, but I knew enzymes were important. So we have never used high heat to dry our algae. So the superoxide dismutase is alive and well, so it can do what it needs to do. And so is the phycocyanin. I have a paper that shows that phycocyanin is equally damaged and deactivated by high heat. So you won't get these benefits of protecting you from Alzheimer's, dementia, heart disease, or cancer from a lesser expensive product that has been using high heat. There is one thing, though, that you could use if you weren't using ours: raw or frozen spirulina. And this is why places like the Hippocrates Institute and the Gershon Institute always give their patients raw spirulina, and because of it hasn't been exposed to high heat. So it's got the live phycocyanin, and it has the live superoxide dismutase. Nice. And they have the 90%, 99% success rate with patients who come to them with very evolved cancer and heart disease. So, and they want to work with us because after people have been discharged, it's hard for them to find spirulina that's the frozen. And besides, you can't. It tastes even worse, with ours. If you swallow the spirulina, there's no repeat, no flavor, nothing. It's one and done. You out the door, boom. So, but they like us because we have the high quality. So, these attributes and nutrients, in particular spirulina, also found not the blue pigment, but the superoxide dismutase and chlorella are really healing nutrients, not found anywhere else. By the way, they both have very high glutathione. Chlorella has the highest glutathione. That's a detoxing antioxidant as well. So the two of them, if you took these spirulina, if you had to choose one, I would always go with the spirulina because you get the benefits of the superoxide dismutase for the protection of the mitochondria, which therefore protects your heart and your brain, and you get the blue phycocyanin that will help kill cancer cells. And there's a number of pathways that it does that. It also has anti-angiogenesis properties. And everything I say is science-based. I've PubMed articles. I've read 3,000 of them. So I don't say anything I don't have any references for.
Nice.
And but you have to have high quality product. You can't just go to Target and expect to get all these benefits. Just like, if you're a connoisseur of wine, you're not going to go be drinking boxed wine. Or if you like shoes, you're not going to go to Walmart and buy a pair of plastic shoes. You might want to get something that's Italian and custom made. So everything comes down to quality. And I tell people your health is worth it. I mean, if you're going to age, but you don't want to decline. So let's find a way to make that happen, and in a way that's not so overbearing and complex and even affordable. So if you took the 10 tablets of spirulina in the morning, and yet we sell them in large bags of 1,000 tablets, and we have a 20% discount code for you, it works out to $1 a day. You can't tell me you can't afford $1 a day to protect your health, protect your mitochondria. So same with the Chlorella, you take 10 of those a day. That's $1 a day. That's, you can't even get a coffee anywhere, even if it's, some cheesy cafe. So you got to step up and realize you can own your health. You can be in charge. You should be in charge. You are in charge, except that
I think what's interesting about it is not only does it have, some of the longevity benefits you just outlined with the phytocyanin and the superoxide dismutase, but you're getting all this nutrient density. I mean, you could actually replace a meal with it, which is kind of what you're doing, right? It's pretty easy to replace a meal.
Yeah.
It is interesting when I take tablets that it really mitigates your appetite. So if anybody is on a
GLP-1
body composition optimization kind of program, right? Something like this is a way to not be hungry at the same time that you're giving yourself really great nutrition, and that can help with the energy to exercise and everything else. So I'm thinking lots of different examples here, and then also anybody that's healing from a surgery or a procedure or something like that, even like a concussion. Something like this would be extremely helpful.
We're starting to work with surgeons. Actually, they're recommending it as a pre-surgery food to make sure the body is nourished, and then also a post-surgery.
That's right.
And on the brain piece, so we've got all this research about the reducing inflammation, and there's a great book that came out. Dr. Chris Palmer wrote last year about, it's called Brain Energy, and in the book he talks about how all brain issues, whether it's post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, doesn't matter what it is ultimately due to damaged mitochondria. And because spirulina heals the mitochondria, it also protects the telomeres, and it's loaded with essential fatty acids. It's really, that's why I call it brain food. But I want to do my own test. So we did a small clinical trial last year with a nonprofit group called the Gray Team. They're a nonprofit that's trying to stop the suicide rates of military veterans, which is at a heartbreaking 35 to 50%. So we took a small group of veterans who had been discharged for up to 10 years. They were all in their 50s and 60s. And all we did was give them a pouch of our spirulina tablets. So there were 30 tablets per pouch. They were told not to do anything different. We did a brain scan before the test. We hooked them up to for sleep, to measure their sleep scores and HRV. And after 30 days, we did another brain scan. And their first brain scan showed massive inflammation, no activity, just like when an athlete has a concussion. After the brain scan, the 30 days after taking the spirulina, all the colors were back. All the brain inflammation was gone. And that's all they did. Nothing different. One gentleman had multiple sclerosis, and his tremors even went away. So we know there's amazing health benefits, brain benefits, and it's from food. It's not a pill. It's not a drug.
No, it's not. What's nice about it is if you take a supplement, you don't feel full. You have to go eat something. If you take this, you're actually being fed and nourished, right?
Yes.
Simultaneously, which is
we call them bits because they're bits of food. They're bits of nutrition. And it's very important to me that people understand that. And
there's some interesting information on superoxide dismutase in that people that are struggling, that are on the spectrum of autism, have a diminished
Yes, I read that too.
capacity for superoxide dismutase function, and some of that's genetically determined. Like there's superoxide dismutase, glutathione peroxidase, and catalase, which are kind of the trio. It's kind of the assembly line of enzymes that takes free radical all the way back to water. And in that, it's interesting that you can upregulate superoxide dismutase expression using things like sulforaphane, which comes out of broccoli. But if you can also, and that's been shown to be helpful in people that are on the spectrum or with autism. But I'm curious if there are any studies, if we're actually delivering SOD into the brain, whether or not it would have an impact, if you know of any studies related to autism or people on the spectrum.
Well, we've had, there are papers, and I try to keep libraries of all the articles I'm constantly finding. 3,000 is a lot to find. So I need a librarian. But there are studies, and we have had anecdotal evidence from our own customers. It absolutely helps with spectrum autism. And we've had coaches at colleges write us and say their kids have focus when they're playing, like they've never had before. Moms,
Nice.
if you're listening, don't give your kids one of those, bars, the protein bars before a game. Give them a handful of spirulina. They can have as much as they want. We generally say, well, give them half of their age. So if they're 10, give them 5 a day or 5 before a game or something. But there's no upper limit. I've had children that were like 16 months come up to my table at various chiropractic conferences and literally wolf down 50 to 100 tablets within seconds because they've been raised on it and they love it.
Right.
So this is the great thing I call it nutritional insurance. I call
So
that
this
spirulina.
in the era of everybody has ADD and ADHD, right? And everybody's getting put on medications. Do you have studies showing that you can actually improve, talking about concentration? Do you have any studies of people with ADD or ADHD where
I don't know if we have, I'm sure there are studies, and, I'm hoping to be a bigger company so we can fund some of these studies later on. But I do know that we've had, again, customers send us, this one particular individual, she wrote us and she says, I forgot to take my depression medication with me on my trip. And so I just took more spirulina. And when she got back, she realized she was feeling great. So she never got back on her medication ever. And it's same with people have allergies. It helps with allergies. It reduces histamine.
Nice. Does that help with seasonal allergies? Is that what you're talking about?
Seasonal
or food
allergies?
Or?
Yeah, because of the reduction of the histamine, and because there's no lectins or oxalates, whether you're carnivore, paleo, it doesn't really matter what diet you're on. Vegan. You can use these and not have any kind of stomach distress or interactions with any other drugs or anything. So
Cool.
This is why when I tell people, I came up with a saying, the benefits of algae are too good to be true and too powerful not to be. So it's the list. I think one of the reasons why the knowledge of this hasn't made its way out is there's actually too much information. It's taken me 14 years to wade through what is out there, and there's always more paper. There's another paper I found just recently that again was proving that spirulina was preventing inflammation and was helping with mitochondrial health. And these papers are, as you know, 20, 30 pages long, and they're very scientific. So not the average person would read them, but I did.
I read them as well. I think, the interesting thing too is that we've kind of figured out that most brain fog is a function of neuroinflammation. There's an element of mitochondrial dysfunction, but there's also a big element of neuroinflammation. And if people are able to decrease the neuroinflammation, their thoughts can become clear again. And this sounds like this could be a great way for them to get there.
Absolutely. And so is red light therapy. And so the great thing is to take the spirulina. If you are doing red light, we recommend the spirulina before the red light, only because it gets into your bloodstream so much faster than the chlorella, because again, it doesn't have a cellulose wall. So combination of the spirulina and the red light, and then you take the chlorella afterwards to pull out any, any cell toxins that have been released during autophagy or apoptosis. You want programmed cell death to clear out the garbage that's in there. Senescent cells are cells that have, as you know, replicated so often they are inflammatory, but they're not doing anything. And if you have too many of them, they cause harm to the mitochondria and to your health, and in your brain. They're everywhere. So because I didn't mention this, but the blue pigment, the way it kills the cancer cells is that it in a healthy cell, the blue pigment phycocyanin speeds up what's called the cytochrome C molecule in the electron transport chain to speed up the production of ATP. But in an unhealthy cell, or a senescent cell, or a cancer cell, the phycocyanin detects that it's a cancerous or senescent cell, ejects the cytochrome C molecule, which kills the cell. So, and that's why I call it intelligent food. You have to be intelligent to take it, and it knows what to do in your body. Mother Nature, God bless her, right?
Right. No,
I
I
can't
love
take
it.
credit for algae, but I can take credit for growing it so carefully that we preserve all the nutrients for you and your family. But Mother Nature just stuns me. The more I learn about algae and our bodies, it's a miracle. As close to a miracle as you're going to get.
Yeah. No, it's quite beautiful. Well, really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us here, Catherine. And it's a fascinating topic, and I think we've been utilizing it in our practice, but I think we'll be utilizing it a lot more. I'm excited to go down that path.
Yeah,
So,
we'll get your address and we'll ship some to your clinic. And anyone who wants to learn more or wants to buy some, our website is energybits.com, ENERGY, B for boy, I, T for Tom, S for Sam. And we have a 20% discount code, which is GLADDEN, GLADDEN. Works on all the products all the time. We have large bags. We have really fun canisters that come with a bag inside, or single servings. And as I mentioned, with this 20% discount code, a big bag of 1,000 tablets normally is $130, but the discount brings it down to $104. Remember, that bag will last, if you took 10 tablets a day, it will last you 3 months and work out to $1 per serving.
Yeah.
And so it's very good nutrition. If you just want to try it out, which is great, go to Amazon and you can just buy single pouches for $6 and you can see if it works.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. I hope some people will definitely take some advantage of that. That's a very generous offer. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And the last thing I'd like to leave with people is that algae isn't new. Remember, it's 3.5 billion years old,
Right.
But it's just new to you because you didn't grow up with it. It's not grown here. No one's explained it to you. The pharmaceutical companies want you to know all the benefits of it. So just like you didn't know about chia or matcha, these were foods and nutrients that have been used by indigenous countries for centuries. So algae's not new. It's just new to you. So it's going to change the world. So give it a try.
Yeah, give it a shot. Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Gladden Longevity Podcast. If you would like more information on what we've discussed or other topics, please reference the show notes or go to gladdenlongevitypodcast.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter by searching Gladden Longevity. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to get future episodes delivered to you and share our podcast or this episode with someone in your life that you may find benefit. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode. The Gladden Longevity Podcast is provided for informational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice. This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of a physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. The use of any information and materials linked to this podcast is at the listener's own risk.